Welcome to the 2025 Lincoln Aviator, refreshed for this model year. So let's go through what the changes are. We'll go through the perks, quirks, and irks, touch on pricing, touch on competition, and that should wrap us up. So this is the second biggest thing that Lincoln offers, with the Navigator being at the very top of the size chain. So still powering the 2025 Aviator as we had in 2024, a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6, 400 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque through a 10-speed automatic transmission, and all-wheel drive does come standard. And that is the same engine that the Ford Explorer ST gets. Let's go through what's new. So right up front, the grille is new, the lights are new, and I think a little cute aspect of it is there's a line running through just the outside edges of the headlamps, and kind of looks like it's giving it a little reach around hug thing. I know, kind of cute, but still very recognizable for the Lincoln brand, and you can get the Lincoln Star to be illuminated. The next big change comes on the inside, and we have a new 13.2-inch infotainment screen, which is much easier to use and it's much more intuitive, and a new 12.4-inch digital instrument cluster. Now the screens are staggered, and the reason I said does it really need a refresh is because we know that the Nautilus has that long pillar-to-pillar panoramic super-sized screen. So I wonder why Lincoln did anything to the Aviator instead of just waiting for a new generation to come out. To wrap up on what's new, there are 4 new interior colors on the top trim reserve. One of them is called Hot Chocolate, and I applaud Lincoln for being creative. And luxury brands usually don't get too cutesy with that kind of stuff, but you know, good job Lincoln for doing that. And now the Lincoln Blue Cruise hands-free driving assist technology is standard here. So now let's jump into the perk side of things. So first up is the ride quality. Extremely smooth, very American luxury, very soft, eats up all of the bumps and imperfections on the road. And we're transitioning between winter and spring here in my part of Canada. So there's a lot of imperfections and potholes and chewed up bits off the road, and the Aviators handled it extremely well. I think there's enough power here. I'll jump into more on the driving side on the Irks portion, but from what I do like about the drive, it's smooth. I'm not gonna say it corners well. It's a long, tall, and heavy vehicle. So there's, I feel, the right amount of body roll and sway as you go around. And yes, there's an Excite/Sport drive mode. Lincoln says this is the strongest gasoline engine in class. More on that on the Irk side as well. But I will say a perk is absolutely the ride quality. There's optional air suspension if you so choose. It's not a cheap option, but if you do want to add some exclamation points into the softness and the very sofa-like, cushy, ultra comfortable ride quality, you can tick that off on the option sheet. Fit and finish holds up pretty well here, and my interior is the, we call it like a whitish, off-white grayish color. I think this suits the Lincoln brand quite nicely. Now this has the upgraded 28-speaker audio system, so there's very intricate designs on the speaker covers, which I feel adds to it as well. But overall, I like the fit and finish on the interior. Things match the Lincoln brand, and there was a time period where Lincoln was, you know, a luxury brand by definition, but their fit and finish was certainly not matching that. There's a big perk for me, and it's the speed at which the powered third row goes up and down. Almost every other competitor that I've had in this segment, it takes so long just to get that third row down and up, and you got to hold on to the button the entire time. And not the case here. One touch goes down in, I think it was 4 or 5 seconds, and the same thing, push that button back and it comes right back up as well. Here's an optional perk because the feature is optional, but it's equipped here. It's the Revel Audio 28-speaker 3D sound system. It sounds so good, and I'm sure whatever Lincoln puts in as far as a factory audio system sounds good and great in the luxury world. But if you care about audio, if you are particular about audio, if you want to really appreciate the craft of sound, get on that option sheet and select this 28 speaker system. My Tester has an LED screen for the second row passengers, and yeah, it's down to the bottom, but you control the audio, you control your climate, and it's overkill slightly, but I think it's a cool little touch here. Quick touch on cargo space before we jump into the Quirks side of things. So with that third row up, the everyday functional storage space is going to be 466 liters. Put that third row down and it goes all the way up to 1,131. And if you want to use the full cargo capacity with second and third rows down, we're going all the way up to 2,149 liters. Onto the Quirks side of things, and that number pad on the door, I will always love it. It does have a lot of functionality. I don't know how many people will actually use it or actually do use it at all in any of the Ford/Lincoln offerings, but I think it's a very quirky feature that has stood the test of time. I used to think this was an Irk. I'm used to it now. I don't mind it, but it is the buttons to change your gears. There's the engine start stop, P, R, N, and D as little piano keys between the vents and this nice chromed out Lincoln badge in the center console. I prefer it to a dial. I prefer it to something off of the steering wheel column. Not as good as a traditional lever, but still kind of quirky nonetheless. To adjust your seating position, the controls are on the door, just like Mercedes has, and I don't mind it. I think they could have jammed everything in the traditional spot, but it's a way to help them stand out, and I guess it avoids having your left hand as the driver fiddling around down on the bottom where the seat back and seat bottoms meet. You also get your memory seats and your optional massaging seat controls all in the same spot. Last up on the quirk pile is the placement of the word Aviator, and it's right by the fenders. It's not on the back at all where almost every other vehicle has their badging. So if you're unfamiliar with the Lincoln brand and you are behind it, you're like, oh, I don't know what kind of Lincoln that is. Obviously a very rare example, but I think it's kind of interesting that Lincoln chose to put their badging only on the front fenders and nowhere else. On to the Irks side of things. These electronic door handles are just plain bad. I'm sure that somebody thought it was a good idea, and they're not the only ones to do it. I know Lexus has it as well, but there was nothing wrong with the traditional door handles. I don't know why we had to move to this. I don't know why anyone had to move to this, and I hope we go back from it. It's easy enough to use, but with anything electronic, there's a chance that it might malfunction or fail, and I know there's a release for it, but still. That annoying button on the top left side of the steering wheel to activate the voice controls, I will never like that. The number of times I've hit that accidentally, there has to be a better way. I know that you could just say, hey, Lincoln, or something, or any kind of voice control to get it going, but to have it on the steering wheel, didn't like it then, and again, I don't like it now. The steering wheel controls can be a little finicky. It's a cool system because when you push different buttons, different controls come up and different things get illuminated. For example, when you hit the Blue Cruise, the buttons on the lower portion of the steering wheel light up. Kind of interesting, and they're blocked out when it's not. But still, they're a little on the small side. You don't always get the controls to respond the way you want them to. Maybe that's just a me thing. All of your HVAC controls are screen-based, and there's no need for that. Give me something, even a couple of things that are actually hard-touch buttons here, or physical controls. I don't want to be poking away at something doing 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, whatever the speed is, trying to adjust the temperature or the fan speed or what other HVAC controls I happen to want to adjust. I hope we move away from that. That is the one ridiculous trend in the auto industry I hope we absolutely go away from at some point. Next up are these 30-way perfect position seats. It has taken me a full week to try and figure out my perfect seating position, and I still haven't found it. It is excessive. I don't think it needs to be this whole big production of 30-way seats. I'm sure some people can appreciate it, and I understand why Lincoln did it. They wanted to give you an option for the most comfortable driving position allowable, but it's too much. Back to the drive feel for this, and I know I said the drive feel was very comfortable and smooth, which it is. The downside to that is this is a very heavy feeling vehicle, and it's 2,205 kilograms, so it is, again, also very heavy on the scale, and you feel it. You know, it takes a couple of extra seconds to get up to where you're going, and you can play around with drive modes, and that can tweak things a little bit, but it still has an extremely very heavy, very cumbersome drive feel. And lastly, it is gasoline only. There is no hybrid, there is no plug-in hybrid here for the Aviator. Something's got to give at some point. I don't know if any brand really can survive by only making gasoline vehicles, so bit of an irk on that side. On to pricing, and there are two trims. So I'm in the Reserve, which is the top trim, and MSRP in Canadian dollars is $80,100. You go down a touch to the Premier trim, and that Canadian MSRP is $78,495. Now, there's a bunch of stuff you can add on to this. So here I have the 22-inch wheel upgrade for $1,750. That air suspension I mentioned earlier, $3,500. And if you want the luxury package, that gets you these 30-way seats and the 28-speaker audio system, as well as heated and cooled second-row seats. That's going to set you back $7,000. It's a little much. Now, my total as tested price before taxes comes in at $96,795. So it is not an inexpensive vehicle by any means. On to the competition side of things, there is quite a bit. So we'll go with the dark horse, which is the Mazda CX-90, and it does an extremely good job of playing in that non-mainstream, non-luxury, just high-end premium space. And they've got the gasoline as well as the plug-in hybrid, and it is significantly lower priced than this, but you don't really lose all that much. Drawback to the Mazda is it's not a true luxury brand, so people might want to live in that luxury space, and by definition Mazda doesn't offer that. Other competitors include the BMW X7, Mercedes GLS, you get the Lexus TX series, Acura's got their MDX to a lower degree, Infiniti has the QX60, and Volvo's new XC90, well, refreshed XC90. You also have the Genesis GV80 and the new Buick Enclave. That's going to wrap it up for the 2025 Lincoln Aviator. Let me know if you have any questions. I will happily get you answers as soon as possible, and I'm always happy to engage in respectful conversation online. I invite you to join the social media community for Modern Motoring. We're on all the major channels. Without you, there is no Modern Motoring, so thank you, I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.